Hey everyone, welcome back. Happy maybe Monday. I mean, Bitcoin's up, miners are down. I don't know what to say. You guys obviously have a lot of questions as far as what's going on. So we'll try to address some of those questions here today. It's not gonna be perfect, right? There's multiple reasons as far as why Bitcoin's up and miners are down, but we'll try to address, I think, the main one, which is what I think everybody's looking kind of for. So thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. We're gonna obviously take a look at what's going on with the miners, Bitcoin today. We'll take a look at possible reasons as to why miners are coming down. And then we'll also take a look at just the revenue side of things as far as where things stand right now based on what we have currently for the miners as far as Q4 results. And some of them obviously are providing other results that we still have from Q3. So we'll look at all that and we'll try to kind of distill it all into possibly what's going on. Okay. So as always, you guys know the drill here. This is not financial advice, for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And I'm investing in finding coins and companies for full disclosure. If you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And then corrections, if we make any mistakes, will be posted to Discord, which is through Patreon, YouTube community posts, and Twitter as well. Okay. So if we look at it over here on this one here, I'm going to overlay something here. Bitcoin halving clock. We're 37 hours or 37 days away from the halving event. Historically, Bitcoin has been coming down into the halving event, or not Bitcoin. Bitcoin has been historically going up into the halving. Miners, on the other hand, last cycle were actually going down, and they were going down a year prior. The only difference that we have now is the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Those are driving the price of Bitcoin up because there's just so much demand. They're buying so much Bitcoin that's driving everything up. Okay, so as you can see down here on the bottom here, you can see obviously the price of miners today, which was pretty bad considering that Bitcoin was up for almost 5%. So I think the main reason here is that we are just so close to the halving event, and people are obviously aware that come halving event, the miners are going to be down 50% in revenue basically at that point, right? If Bitcoin's at 72,000 at this time right now, and whatever the miners are making now, they're going to be making half of that. So I think this is the reason why miners are going down, and you got MicroStrategy going up because MicroStrategy does not have actually any mining or well, they don't have any mining for that bit. I mean, they buy everything in Bitcoin and spot price, but they don't have to worry about the halving event so much because they don't. Their revenues are going to get cut in half, basically, right? So we're seeing that kind of transition over into MicroStrategy for a little bit. I think it's going to continue on until after the halving potentially, and at that point, the miners will actually start to kind of pump a little bit after that, which we've seen in the past cycle as well. So right now we have basically 37 days of pain, I think, ahead of us until possibly we get past the halving, and then the miners actually start growing. Bitcoin price starts continuing to grow up as well. And we're going to look at some numbers here in a little bit, but we're going to get into Bitcoin and miners first. But I just wanted to point that out to you guys. Also, Bitcoin, like I said before, in the last cycle was actually going up into the halving event. We are now seeing the same thing, but much, much faster because of spot Bitcoin ETFs. The miners at that point were also going down into the halving, which we're kind of seeing right now. It's a little bit of a delayed reaction, I think, what we're seeing, because I was expecting that to happen this time around, but because of spot Bitcoin ETFs, it pumped not only the miners, it also pumped Bitcoin really well. So that's kind of where we are right now, right? There's really no other explanation for this, I think, except for what's going to happen in 37 days. So why don't we take a look at that as far as what's going on there with Bitcoin and miners, and we'll get into some of the spreadsheets that I have, and I'll explain everything to you guys as best as I can, okay? So let's take a look at the screen here, which is going to be on Bitcoin here. Obviously, Bitcoin, like I said, was up today quite nicely. It was up 4.46%. It peaked at 72,943, so another new all-time high here on Bitcoin that we just reached right now. And we just keep kind of reaching these new all-time highs as we get into the actual weekly markets, right? When the markets are open, when the ETFs are trading and things like that, we're seeing that impact on Bitcoin price here. And we're up a little bit again today. In the new hours, we're up about 0.35%, up another $250 or so to 72,362. So Bitcoin closed today at 72,111. And the miners, they started out pretty good in the morning. They were actually up in the green side of things, and then as the day wore on, it's just everybody seems like they were dumping miners. I will say that I did buy some more today. I love these kind of days because it lets me to buy more miners that I want to buy at a much lower discount, because I know eventually they will start popping, and the popping is usually pretty good after the halving event. So I'm not too worried about it. But obviously it is painful for some of you guys that have bought, some of these miners that were up higher, and you're down now let's just take a look at a couple of these guys here. Let's take a look at Marathon here. Marathon was down 12% today. I mean, if you bought Marathon at $34, right, you're kind of in a painful spot right now, which I don't, I can understand that completely. And you're questioning what the heck is going on? Why are the miners down? Bitcoin's going up. I mean, you're down 40% from there. So, or anywhere between there, you're basically anywhere between 10 to 40% down. And that is going to be obviously painful. But we also saw the same thing here in 2022, right? If you were buying the miners at that point, I mean, some of us were down 60, 80% on the miners when we started buying them in 2022 because I didn't know where the bottom was going to be. So I just wanted to kind of dollar cost average in, and that's the way I did it. And because I did that, and I was so early into it, I think that helped me out tremendously with being actually in the positive still. I'm still up on the ones that I have, like CleanSpark, I'm still up over 350% on that. Bitfarms, I'm up a little bit, over 100% on that one still. That one's obviously been lagging a little bit behind because of the dilution. And then Iris Energy, I'm up a little bit because I just started buying that one a couple months back. So I think if you dollar cost average in, it's a much better outcome of it, right? Obviously, if you got in at $34, it would be, I think, wise to possibly dollar cost average in, but obviously you have to do what you can if you have the cash to do it. I think that would be wise. I don't think that we're going to see the miners go all the way down to zero, right? We need the miners, and then eventually the miners will be profitable again, where Bitcoin's going to 150,000, 200, 300,000, whatever it might be, that the miners will at that point be really profitable. Their profit margins can be as high as 90%. So that's going to, once again, get us into that bull run with miners, where they're going to definitely be popping here, and we expect obviously much more or much higher price targets on these miners than where they are right now. Right now, they're depressed because we have obviously Bitcoin having at 37 days here, as you guys can see, right? That's having a negative impact on the miners because their revenue is going to get cut in half. So all those things play into it. Plus, you have MicroStrategy pumping really good as well. If you look at MicroStrategy here as well, let's go down here. MicroStrategy is over here. They were up 4.11%. They were up much higher also, but they've come down here. And then, as I've said before here, MicroStrategy will actually kind of front run Bitcoin a little bit. If we look at just the year to date here and we compare it to MSTR, let's see if I have it over here, or if I need to put it in. I may need to put it in. Nope, right there. Same as scale. So you can see, right, MicroStrategy was actually below Bitcoin here for pretty much all the way through February, probably 26th. And just recently it started to pump really hard here. Bitcoin's up 71%, MicroStrategy is up 116%, right? So MicroStrategy is still only up 116%. So what is that? 1.5x of what Bitcoin is doing. If you look at the 3 months here, you can see Bitcoin's up 75%, MicroStrategy is up 167%. And sometimes we get it where MicroStrategy actually front runs Bitcoin a little bit, then pulls back down or even goes below Bitcoin price or percentage gains, and then comes back up. And then obviously we've seen a really rally here. If we look at the 6 months here, same thing, right? It was trading pretty close to Bitcoin here for a while, kind of front running a little bit, came back down, front running again a little bit, came back down. It's obviously front running it again this time around. And if we look at the 1 year here, we can see the same thing. Front runs it, comes back down, and then front runs it again, comes back down. We're obviously front running it right now. Bitcoin's up 250% from 1 year ago. MicroStrategy is up 565%, so basically a 2x, right? Now, if we overlay a couple other miners over this, you can see the kind of difference here. Let's do CleanSpark here. Let's do also maybe, I don't think I have it here, but Bitfarms. There's a couple of miners that have obviously outperformed Bitcoin here. And it's actually down a little bit here now recently because it's been coming down, but you can see Bitfarms is 191%, Bitcoin is up 250%, MicroStrategy up 565%, and CleanSpark up 641%, right? Obviously CleanSpark has done the best here. I think we can possibly include here as well as Marathon. Marathon's come down from its high here a little bit as well, but let's just take a look at it for comparison. And yeah, Marathon's up 208%, so pretty close to where Bitcoin is. Not that far off, right? Only about 42% off from where Bitcoin is right now. And that, I think, is going to continue on until we get into the halving event. The halving event, like I said, is only 37 days away. Here's our line here. And then typically after that is when we usually pump afterwards, right? Usually about 4 to 8 weeks afterwards is when we start seeing the things happening here that are really going to be good for Bitcoin miners and everything else. Okay. So we got that. And then I don't have the ETFs in here, but the ETFs pretty much follow Bitcoin anyways, right? There's not really much leverage to those guys. So they'll just follow Bitcoin prices, how that one is going. But the big one obviously here has been MicroStrategy. And the interesting part of it is because MicroStrategy has such a huge hodl, some of the questions are, why isn't like Hut 8, which has a hodl of like 9,000 BTC, or Marathon, which has a hodl of like 16,000, right? Why aren't they keeping up with Bitcoin? And the main reason is the halving event. The halving event is, like I said, 37 days away right now. And until we get past that, we're going to be possibly in a little bit of pain. But if we do get dips, like I've said before, I will be buying those into the miners that I want to get into, which I think are more undervalued than others. And that's just, I think it's well, I mean, it's great to get a sale, right? You can get more shares of those things because once they do start running up, it's going to be pretty fast here, I think. And I'm not the only one with this same kind of thought process here. There's a lot of people out there also that are smarter than me that have the same thought process with the miners are concerned. So, but that's kind of where we're at right now. Let's take a look at the numbers that I have for these guys here from a couple of quarters that we do have numbers for. And then we'll get into the news that we do have here, which is on Bitfarms, and we'll probably call it a day here. But if we go over here, this is my spreadsheet table that looks at all of the miners here as far as, and this probably should be deleted because it's been updated here since then. Let me see, ups include, yep, the only thing that's in here, let me get rid of this. Some of the results are based on Q3 and Q4 financials for some of these guys, and I'll explain which ones are those. So let me get rid of that. But what we're looking at is right now, BTC price around 72,000, network hash rate is about 580,000, right? Block reward per day is about 900 Bitcoins per day. The ones here in yellow are the ones that we have the latest financial results for. So you got Bitfarms, Cypher, CleanSpark, DNG, Hive, Iris, Marathon, Riot, and Stronghold have already reported their basically Q4 or Q1 or whatever their numbers are ending in December, okay? So we're using those numbers here as far as what their monthly operations average are for that, current assets and things like that as well, what they had reported at that point. The ones that are not in yellow are still from Q3 numbers, so they're basically almost now 6 months old information. Once we get all the information for all these guys, I'll get this updated for you. And that way we can see basically apples to apples comparison as far as what's going on. Now, it's not always going to be apples to apples on this because usually in the fourth quarter, these guys will put in bonuses, all that other stuff, all the crap that they want to put into the end of the year financials. And that kind of sometimes skews the numbers a little bit here. So ideally, we would want at least like the first quarter numbers, which we do have, I think, for the only one that I think that's like that is DMG and CleanSpark right now, where they're in the first quarter of their reporting year. Everybody else has Q4 numbers in it, okay? Okay, so that kind of explains the kind of battlefield that we have here right now, okay? Electricity is also based on the information I could find from their latest releases, from their presentations, anything I could find. The ones that I possibly could not find information for was the ones that are like in, that are showing up as 5 cents per kilowatt hour. I'm just guessing there. I don't know exactly what it is. Could be lower, could be higher, but I'm guessing that's around 5 for some of these guys here. DMG, yep. So some of these guys I was not able to find information from, but it's all in here in the notes. And then obviously Patreon members get all the notes and everything else included in this. So that's available to them. Average watts, I'm also calculating the average watts for all these miners as far as what they have currently running. And then average hash rate, same thing. Average joules per terahash is an estimate number based on what I could find for their miners as far as what the wattage is. Sometimes they don't provide that information, so I have to go out and source it through either the manufacturer's website or third-party websites that provide that information. So that's kind of how I'm getting it. It might not be apples to apples exactly, but we're pretty close, I think, to that as far as what they're reporting as being at certain points. And then we get the average cost here, and then we're looking at basically Bitcoin between 62,000 and 96,000 on this table here, okay? And then we're looking at the number of miners that they have, and that's based, again, my best guess estimates as far as what they could be running to get to the exahash that they're currently reporting as being at the end of the month of February. Two things to note here. Mawson and Sphere 3D have not yet provided their operational updates for February, so their numbers are based on January information, basically, okay? So take that also into consideration here. Okay, and then we're looking at 5 months average uptime here for these miners here. So what we're looking at is basically the last 5 months. What has their uptime been that I've been able to calculate based on what they mined in BTC and what they had in hash rate. Okay, so that's going across the board for everybody here. Then we're calculating basically total revenue here for 30 days, right? Some months have 31 days. I'm just going with 30 days here. Electricity cost based on the electrical costs that they reported that I could find on them. 30 days net profit, we're calculating that profit margin, what that profit margin is, obviously, as well. And then monthly operational average, monthly operations average. So what is their, at that point, we're looking at operating costs and expenses, any restructuring costs, depreciation, amortization in here as well for some of these guys. Let me see if I have it for everybody here. Depreciation, amortization. I don't think I have it in. See, I just noticed something that I don't think I have it for everybody for depreciation, which I should probably take that out because it's a non-cash payment here. Financials, let's see. I'm just going through here really quick to see if I'm including it and anybody else here as well. It doesn't look like it. So we're going to get rid of it for Argo. We'll make Argo depreciation, amortization. We'll get rid of that one for it. It's a good catch there. So that'll make it a little bit better for them. And let's see if down here we have anybody else. Finance expense, employee benefits. I'm just trying to include all of the cash-based expenses in the reports that they provided here. And trying to keep out non-cash. Let's see. Okay, I think that's good. So the only one that I had was for Argo. Okay, got that fixed. So we're looking at that estimated monthly income here, what that possibly could be. After we take out the 30 days net profit, take out the monthly operational expenses, and then we're also including here as far as their current assets is, as far as cash, things like that, potentially, that would help them possibly survive the halving event. Okay, so we got all that straightened out here. You guys know what's going on with it all. And based on all of this, we can see here that as of right now, the average joules per terahash, obviously lower is better. This is as of February for most of these guys, except for Mawson and Sphere, which are from January numbers. Okay, CleanSpark here is the second best here because we got TeraWolf at 24.44. Actually, Marathon, sorry. Excuse me. Marathon is better, 23.96. Then we got TeraWolf at 24.4 joules per terahash, followed by CleanSpark at 24.56. And then we have probably, who else is the next one in line here? Potentially Hive, right? 26.46 right now, looks like. And then you guys can see all the rest of the numbers. So that is obviously looking good for CleanSpark, Marathon, and TeraWolf. Cypher's not too bad as well, 27. We got a couple that are 27-bit digital. Cypher, Core, who else? DMG here, Iris as well in the 27s, which is good. And they're going to obviously decrease that, or at least some of these guys are going to decrease that even lower as they get more hash rate installed, newer miners, more efficient miners. So that's going to help them out. Okay, going down here, net profit after electrical costs. So this is just looking at that, doesn't include expenses. We're looking at Marathon right now with the current economics that we have in play. Marathon would be possibly the most profitable here with 46.8 million, right? Followed by Core with 43. So these are the two guys that have the most hash rate. And then CleanSpark at 39. So CleanSpark is coming in at number 3. And then you can see everybody else down below here as far as on that. So there's quite a huge disparity between the top 3 and everybody else as far as revenues are concerned. Okay, profit margin here. Profit margin here is looks like TeraWolf is number 1, 76.4%. And then we got CleanSpark at 74.7. And then followed by that would be probably Iris Energy at 73.6. And then we got a couple here that are in the 70s as well. 72 for Cypher, 70 for Bitfarms, Hive at 71 as well. And then the rest of the guys are at 60 and 55 for Argo, and along with Sphere 3D. Stronghold's even pretty high up here at 69 at right now. Okay. But Strongholds also, I think, includes their hosting part of it as well, which I need to separate out still. Okay, so that's how things look like right now before the halving event, right? If we go up here, one little change here from 900 Bitcoin to 450 Bitcoin, you're going to see a lot difference here. So right now, if we look at it over here, we can see that estimated net monthly income here, we got a lot more red in here. We got basically Argo, BitDeer, BitDigital, Bitfarms, and Cypher being in the red right now as it is. And then we're looking at months of runway here. So Argo's got about 4 months of runway. BitDeer about 372, BitDigital 191, Bitfarms 308, Cypher about 83 days. Then we got Hut 8 here down as well. They got a huge huddle stack, so they won't have a problem going through the halving event. Then we got Marathon also being in the red here. We got Mawson, Riot, Sphere 3D, Stronghold, and TeraWolf being in the red just slightly here on that part. So then when we look at the actual profitability here, we get the months of runway. This is how that all stacks up. And then when you look at the net profit after electrical expenses, after the halving event, now things kind of change around a little bit. So this is the fear in investors' eyes right now. That halving event is going to definitely cut the revenue side of things for the miners. But you also have to take into consideration, what if Bitcoin was only at 50,000, right? We're having obviously a benefit because of the spot Bitcoin ETFs going up. This is helping out the miners tremendously, because we'll take a look at that here shortly. But right now we're looking at about, the best one's going to be here, CleanSpark with 13 million net profit after electrical expenses, and obviously being able to cover their expenses as well. So they should be pretty good. Core at 12.6, Marathon now 11.6, and mainly because their electrical expense is pretty high up there, about 6.5. They have bought facilities, which I think is going to help them out in the long run. It should decrease their electrical cost and just hosting cost basically at that point, right? And then you got everybody else here. Iris is going to be number 4 spot basically with 5.3, and then we got a couple of 4 million and some here below that. Profit margin obviously has decreased there. We still have TeraWolf at number 1, 52% possibly, and that's not including the operations cost. And then we got CleanSpark at number 2 spot here as well. Iris at 47, number 3 spot as well. So that's kind of the way things look, right? Big difference from what we saw just be right before the halving. And then if we take Bitcoin down, if it was at 50,000, which is kind of what we were kind of thinking that Bitcoin might be, but because of spot Bitcoin ETFs, things have obviously played out a lot differently for the miners. It's a lot better actually. And I believe it's going to only get better for the miners, because with Bitcoin at 72,000 now, I mean, by the end of the year, we could be at 150,000 for Bitcoin, which would be insane. I think a lot of people were thinking maybe we would get to maybe 100,000 by the end of the year. But looking at it here, now you can see that at 50,000, if Bitcoin was at that point, you have quite a few companies here that would be basically in the negative net profit after electrical expenses. You got Argo, BitDeer, BitDigital, and then this is not including also their operational expense, which I probably should do that and put another chart in here. But you got Hut 8 negative here, right? Sphere 3D as well. And down here, same thing. Profit margins have definitely gone the other way for them. So this is the concern with the miners right now. And we're going to probably continue to see that until after the halving event. So I would highly advise you guys to be prepared for a little bit more downturn on the miners. I think that's possibly what's going to happen here. But after that, once we get past all of this stuff, if Bitcoin goes up to 150,000 here, and let's do that for you guys as well. And then obviously we're not touching the network hash rate. Network hash rate could actually go up much higher from this. Let's just say by the end of the year, we're at, let's go up to potentially, where do we want to go to? Maybe 750 exahash. Maybe, let's go to 800, right? 800 exahash on the network hash rate, I think might be doable. At that point, even with Bitcoin being at 150,000, you still have some miners that might be in a little bit of a trouble here, right? Stronghold, you got Mawson, Argo, if they're not growing their hash rate, not increasing that stuff, you can kind of see how things play out. But some of the other miners are going to be doing just fine. CleanSpark at 26 million at that point. Core at 28, Marathon at 29, right? But they're also looking to grow. CleanSpark we know is going to be growing. We know Bitfarms is going to be growing. We know TeraWolf is going to be growing. We know Iris is going to be growing to like 20 exahash. So there's still a lot of growth, which we're not accounting for in this. Their efficiencies are going to improve as well. So at that point, if they, let's see, CleanSpark is going to go about 2x still. So you could probably double that to about 52 million in revenue, right? Core, we don't really know where they're going to be going, but they're definitely going to be growing. Marathon could possibly grow to another, 38, 50 exahash, however they want to get to in the year. So they could actually record more revenue. TeraWolf, same thing. They're going to be growing. Rise is going to be growing as well. Iris is going to be doubling from where they are right now as well. So that could be at 22 million then. Bitfarms as well, right? They're going to be almost tripling from where they are right now. So you can see how that's going to have an impact on these things. So the miners that are growing after the halving event and into the halving event are going to be doing a heck of a lot more better on this. And that's just something I wanted to point out to you guys, that it's not all dire and it's not all doom and gloom where the miners are going to be pretty much in a bad shape, right? If we go to 200,000 by the end of the year, well, at that point, things are going to be looking a lot better. Plus, like I said, the miners that are growing are going to be doing a heck of a lot better. So we could have doubles on some of these guys where they're up to 80, 90 million potentially in revenue per month, basically at that point. Okay. But that's kind of the way I wanted to show you guys. If you guys have any questions, obviously hit me up in the comments down below. and we'll definitely go through it all to talk about it. But I don't think it's as bad as everybody's pointing out. I think some people just got in a little bit late into the miners, and they're feeling the pain right now, right? Which is something that we felt a a long time through this because I've been in this for almost over 2 years now. 2022 is when I started getting into it. 2022 was just an abysmal year as far as the miners are concerned. We were just going down and going down and going down. It's like, when is the bleeding going to stop? We finally ended the bleeding in basically December of 2022. 2023 was a total flip on us, right? Bitcoin ended up around 15,000 at the end of December, and then we started going back up. That was unexpected. I was not expecting that until possibly after the halving event. I was thinking we're going to be going down even more, but we were going up. I was still able to dollar cost average in, which helped out tremendously. And the only thing I can say to you guys is to be patient. It's not something that's going to flip on a switch. It's going to take a little time, and I think this is an opportunity to buy. But I keep saying that all the time, and it's worked out for me. So I'm hoping that works out for you guys too. Not financial advice. You got to do your own thing, right? Okay. Like I just showed you guys, 37 days before the halving event. But this is it, right? Running these kind of numbers kind of reassures me that we're definitely still in the early stages of things, or where things are going to go. But yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions on this. Okay. Let's take a look at the story that we do have here, which is going to be on Bitfarms here really quick. A lot of people were also panicking on Bitfarms on Friday last week when they when they provided us with information that they're going to be basically doing an ATM for 375 million. Everybody was like, oh, the sky's falling, right? Everybody was jumping ship, taking life rafts, getting off that boat. But as we've seen it before with other miners as well, we've seen it with CleanSpark, we've seen it with Marathon, we've seen it with Riot, we've seen it with other miners as well that are actually growing well into the halving and after the halving, that it is accretive to investors in the long run. It doesn't feel like it in the beginning, but it is in the long run, right? Especially when you have companies diluting at the prices where they're possibly at, like Bitfarms. CleanSpark was doing the same thing around the $3, $4, $2 range as well. They were diluting, they were growing like crazy, right? Buying miners, buying infrastructure, doing all those things. And that's where what we really want to see is out of these companies is to grow, because if you're not growing, you're basically going to be dying eventually. So they need to grow, and I believe it is accretive, especially as Bitcoin prices, we're entering into the bull market, all those things, okay? So when I saw that, I was like, great. Now all we need to know is when are they going to be buying machines to get to their target goal? And I mean, basically the next trading day, we got the information here. So Bitfarms provided this to us today. So Bitfarms purchases additional miners to reach 21 exahash by 2024. They're at 6.5 exahash right now, something like that. That's basically 3x from where they are right now. And they've been, doing all the right things. They've been buying infrastructure and buildings and land and things like that up in Paraguay, Argentina, all that stuff, setting up for this growth here that we're going to possibly see here in this year, right? So, but it's also twofold. It's great that they want to grow to that spot, but they need to prove that they can get there, right? So it's one thing to say we're getting to 21, 50 exahash, 100 exahash, but we need to see that track record of growth here throughout the, obviously, months, quarters into the end of 2024. Okay, so here's what we got. Bitfarms today exercises previously announced purchase option for 28,000 Bitmain T21 miners, and also purchased an additional 19,280 Bitmain T21 miners for $14 per terahash, which is really good price here. 3,888 Bitmain S21 miners and 740 Bitmain S21 Hydro miners for $17.50 per terahash. So the S21 seem, I don't know if they're both at that same cost or if it's a average cost for those guys. The S21 Hydros are usually a little bit more expensive. The Bitmain S21 miners, I would have expected to be those around maybe $14.50, maybe $16 per terahash, but that's still not bad if they're getting an average price on it. Overall, this comes out to be like 133 million plus or minus, give or take a little bit here, right? So we're looking maybe between 130 some million to 150 million for this purchase alone. They have an ATM for 375 million. That gets them all the miners that they need right there with just about $150 million, okay? That still leaves them with 200, no, right? Yeah, that leaves them with 225 million left, potentially, to build out the infrastructure, which I don't think they're going to need that much. I think they're going to only need maybe like 60 million or something like that. 67 million, somewhere around there. If we're looking at the average price of a megawatt infrastructure build out, like 350,000, something like that. Especially if you're building out in Argentina and places like that, it might be even maybe less. But that's kind of what we're looking at here. So possibly dilution of around 200 million or something like that, right? Which wouldn't be too bad. They still have 175 million left over. So it's not all doom and gloom here. But continue on here. With Bitcoin achieving new all-time high prices and having already confirmed the tremendous performance from our T21 miners currently running, Bitfarms acted quickly to secure additional T21s and S21 miners before anticipated hardware price increases. This is a good move. We've seen this from Riot. We've seen this from CleanSpark. We've seen this from other companies. We've seen it from Iris. We've seen it from Marathon. All of these guys are trying to buy the miners at a relatively low price, which they are right now, which is good to see because we don't want the miners buying like they did last time when they were buying at the peak for $89 per terahash. That was just crazy. Okay, so this is good. These miners are scheduled to be delivered in 2024. We believe they are sufficient to reach 21 exahash in 2024 without a redeployment of our old miners, which is good, which we intend to liquidate to help offset the cost of the new miners. So depending on what they get for those miners, we may actually come down and maybe it's going to cost them maybe 115 million or 120 million or something like that to get these swapped out, right? So we'll sell the older ones for a little bit of, I don't know what you could sell those for, maybe $500 a piece or something like that. Maybe 1,000, don't know what the going rate is. But if they're 100 terahash, you could probably sell them for, and they're going for 14 used miners. Let's just say it's 7, so $700 per miner, something like that. And they have a lot of them, which we'll take a look at here shortly. Let's see. These orders solidify our expansion plan for 2024 and provide the pathway to operating one of the newest and potentially most powerful mining fleets in the industry, leading into what looks to be a promising bull market. Securing these miners now is a key part of our strategy to drive rapid and meaningful improvements across our three key operating metrics of hash rate, energy efficiency, and operating cost per terahash, with a plan to capture greater upside from the rising Bitcoin prices with rapidly expanding mining margins, Murphy concludes, which I agree. So this is definitely the way to go. Get the machines secured, purchased as fast as you can while they're still low in price. Build out your infrastructure, do that thing, and grow into the halving after the halving event as well. Especially as you run into the bull run, because you're going to be able to catch that upside as well on those miners at that point. Okay, so that's basically the release. Happy to hear it. I think I told you guys that I bought Bitfarms some more today. I dollar cost average down a little bit more. They were above my average price. My average price is like $1 or something. So I still bought more because I think that there's still more upside to go with Bitfarms. So that's why I wanted to do it. Okay, let's go back here to Bitfarms here really quick. I'll show you guys what I mean as far as miners being possibly being taken offline. So going down here, we now have them at, where is it at? Right here, 21 exahash, pretty much on the dot. We're off by 0.007 exahash or something like that, okay? The way I was able to figure that out is basically these miners here in the past, we've kind of figured that those are going to be kind of taken offline, right? They're from 2021, basically, when they got those in. And those are 103 terahash miners, which aren't bad. But they are a little bit power hungry right now, so a little bit less efficient, about 34 joules per terahash, roughly. So I'm guessing they're going to take off some of these blue ones here as well, which would be 1,000 of these, 2,000, 900 here, 980, 1950, 2910. And then these here might be still left over based on what I could figure out just on what their hash rate is going to be, and what they have already purchased and ordered and what's going to be getting delivered and things like that. So we do have a timeline here for all these potentially here when they're going to be coming in. And then that will actually lower their joules per terahash here to 21 joules per terahash on average once they get everything installed, which would be really, really good here. Definitely looking a lot better than where they are right now, which is like 34 or 32 joules per terahash. You see here, February came in at 32 joules per terahash, right? So a huge improvement in that. And that's obviously going to bode well for them for profitability, everything else going into the bull run, which I'm bullish on actually. But that is it right now. So like I said, it's going to be a little bit painful here, I think, for the time being, especially as we get into the halving event, right? That's coming up here as well. That's only right now 37 days away, as you can see on the clock there. And in the meantime, my goal was still to dollar cost average in. So anybody that's selling right now, thank you for bringing the prices down, because I can buy more and I can do a lot better on the upside as well. But I know some of you guys are in a tough spot because you bought higher and things like that, which I feel for you. I've been there. I was down 60-80% on these guys here for months at a time. And I still continue to buy in because there's a game plan here, at least for me, that buy as much as I can before the halving event, because I know after the halving event, things are going to get ridiculous. You get FOMO in, you get people, overbidding on these miners on Bitcoin, everything else. and it just gets crazy at that point, and I do not want to be in that position. Okay, but that's it. Let me know what you guys thought of this, obviously, on any of these things. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, also, the spreadsheets are available to my Patreon members. You guys get all the information, all the data that I have. We also have a private Discord server that we take part in, which is great because we have a lot of great communication there as well. Be careful of spammers on there, scammers as well. It's tough. There's not much I can do about the scammers side of things because there's people that are outside the server that we use, the private server, and then they contact people that are in the server because for whatever reason they bought the membership, they write down the usernames and then they try to go after them. So be careful out there. I will not reach out to you guys unless you reach out to me first, as far as direct messages. So be wary of that. Be mindful of that. If you do see anything like that, let me know. I'll let you know if it was actually me or not, but for like 100%, it's not going to be me unless you actually reach out to me. Okay, so be mindful of that. And then what else do we have going on here? I think we got what do we have? CPI data coming out this week as well. So that'll be interesting to see. And then obviously the Fed has a meeting afterwards or later on this week, not this week, later on this month or next month. Can't remember. There's just too many dates in my mind. But we also have core reporting, I believe, this week as well. So that'll be interesting. So stay tuned to that. And if you enjoyed it, obviously hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell that we get notified when I do all these videos. And I just wanted to say thank you. It's been a wild journey we've been on, or at least I've been on with you guys. A lot of you guys have been with me since 2022 and 2021 when I started doing this. And I had, 50 subscribers at that point and trying to get all this information out to you guys. So I greatly appreciate that everyone that has stuck with me for this time. It's been a fun ride. I think the bestest part is yet to come. So I'm thankful for everyone that has subscribed, that has joined Patreon and everything else. Okay. We'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Other than that, I wish you guys a great night and we'll see what happens tomorrow.